If there's one thing that BuzzFeed News is actually really good at, it's filing Freedom of Information requests. Their reporter, Jason Leopold, does this all the time, and he does a pretty good job of it. And now BuzzFeed has come across secret documents. They're now unclassified, so it's not that big of a deal, but it's interesting, that show just how the U.S. government would plan for an uncontrollable pandemic. And what's truly fascinating is that national security officers, agents, are being advised to have a 3-month stockpile of food. The reason why I find it so interesting is because most of these governments right now are telling people to do things they in fact aren't doing. They say, don't go out and buy a bunch of supplies. They go out and buy a bunch of supplies. Now, I'm not saying don't listen to what they're telling you, because to a certain degree, I think for the most part, they're giving you sound and reasonable advice. When they say don't go panic buy, they're not saying it because they want to make sure you don't have food. It's because you shouldn't, because if everyone does, then the stores are going to be impacted, raided. There's not going to be supplies for everybody. People freak out. So it's important to listen. The problem is the advice they're giving is based on what they don't want everyone to do. And there's a difference between what an individual should do and what everyone should do. So if they come out and say, we are supplying, we're preparing for 3 months we're buying 3 months of supplies, then what do you think people are going to do? So they need to tell you to be calm and only buy a little bit and hope that that actually results in a positive reaction. However, people being nasty, evil people, many people rushed out, raided a ton of stores for hand sanitizer and toilet paper. And I'll tell you what, we joke about how they did it. Now we actually know a lot of these people are scalping. I guess they call it some kind of like emergency arbitrage or something. I don't know. We have a story from the New York Times as well that I want to show you, where this is a guy they're showing. He bought 17,000 bottles of hand sanitizer, but when Amazon shut his account down, he doesn't have any way to sell it. I don't care. This guy was exploiting panic to sell hand sanitizer for up to $70 a bottle. And that's why it's important you take care of yourself and you take these things seriously. The government likes to say, here's what you should do, but I don't care about what China is saying or what Italy is saying or what the United States is saying. I care about what they're doing. Actions speak louder than words. So we have this story from BuzzFeed. They say, here's how the National Security Agency will protect itself during a pandemic. Secret documents sketch out the worst case scenario for a 1918-like pandemic and no effective response. I don't know where we're at in terms of, are we on track to be like 1918? Is it all overhyped? You're going to hear a lot of different things from a lot of different people. What I can say is, don't expect the government to come out and tell you the world is ending, because then people would panic. And the best thing they can do is say, remain calm. Things are going to be okay, which is one of the reasons Trump probably downplayed this in the beginning. Though I think I'm very critical of him for doing so. I can understand you don't want panic. When Trump then announced the European travel restrictions, they accused him of inciting panic. So there's really nothing you can do. So I'm not going to trust the government because I understand people are panicky and nuts. Have you seen the video of people raiding the toilet paper? Yeah, these people are not smart. They're jamming themselves into tight spaces with other people. That's how you get sick. That's how you get viruses. And all for toilet paper? Nah, man. Let's check out this story from BuzzFeed. They say the Department of Health and Human Services has recommended that intelligence community personnel have at least 3 months worth of food on hand in the event of an uncontrolled pandemic. The recommendation was contained in an unclassified influenza contingency plan drafted in 2009 by the National Security Agency. It details the sweeping steps the spy agency should take to keep its personnel safe and working on critical intelligence matters in the event of such a crisis. This is interesting. The FEMA has told people to actually stock up because they can't take care of you. That's a fact. They've been advising Americans of this since Katrina. And what do Americans do? They gloat, they laugh. Everything will always be perfect, they say. And now look where we are. Have you been to your local store recently? I was just talking to someone nearby. The local Walmart, I posted pictures. Go to my Instagram. Go to Instagram.com/Timcast and you'll see the photos we posted. I'm in the burbs. I thought you'd still be able to buy this stuff. Now the toilet paper is gone. So have you taken this seriously? Let me tell you something. I'm not by any means a prepper. I am not going to stock up. Even I probably wouldn't get 3 months of supplies. But it is interesting when the government is advising its intelligence officers, agents, or whatever you want to call it, personnel, to have 3 months of supplies, food, 3 months of food on hand in the event of an uncontrolled pandemic. The reason this is interesting to me is because how do you know when it will start? You don't. In which case, do they really expect these people to stock up on supplies well beforehand? I would assume the answer is yes. They assume that the people who are critical for the United States government will have these supplies. But now think about that for a second. I understand why we want to make sure our intelligence community has access to these supplies so they can, if some crazy thing happens, they can keep working. But I also recognize that I want to survive too, and a lot of that responsibility, the overwhelming majority, falls on me. While I do trust to a certain degree people within law enforcement and, national security to try and protect American citizens, again, to a certain degree, I also know the responsibility is on me to get my supplies. This is fascinating. Now check this out. The New York Times highlights how this guy was going around buying all of these supplies, hand sanitizer, etc. And we can see that the price from January to March for disinfecting wipes, hand sanitizer, and N95 masks skyrocketed. That's crazy. And so I guess the yellow is the third-party sellers. Amazon has even begun selling less too. So I recently went on Amazon to buy some disinfecting wipes. I figured they'd still be there because I've been buying stuff on Amazon with no problem. Not unavailable. You can't get them. Delivery will come in like weeks to a month. I didn't realize that. And you know what? I understand they're saying you want 3 months supply of food, whatever. That's what the government is advising its own people. I didn't do that either. They say the 50-page document obtained by BuzzFeed News last July following a 6-year Freedom of Information Act battle tracks closely with steps that have now been widely adopted by Americans facing the current coronavirus outbreak, which the World Health Organization officially declared a global pandemic this week. The contingency plan was drafted in response to a 2006 directive from then President George W. Bush that called upon federal government agencies to implement a national strategy for a potential influenza pandemic. The new coronavirus is a novel virus in the same family as those that caused SARS and MERS. So far, it has spread to more than 132,000 people across the globe, killing more than 4,900, mostly in China. While the coronavirus is much more deadly than influenza, a flu pandemic can also have devastating impacts. The Spanish flu killed almost 50 million people worldwide. Now I'm gonna do a promo for the company I've shouted out in the past, and I'm doing it because, look, this story literally just came out from BuzzFeed last night, and I thought, check this out. SafeandReadyMeals.com is selling 2-week, 4-week emergency food or longer. There's a shipping delay, but I still recommend that you get this. I'm giving this a shout out for 2 reasons. First, to be completely honest, when you buy from them, it does support my channel. This is a sponsorship, 100%. But I only do it because I sincerely think it's a good idea. You'll notice if you watch my channel, I almost never shout anything out. Rarely ever. There's like 1 or 2 companies I might give a shout out to. This is one of them because months ago, I said, go to the site, get what you need. It's like, seriously, 2 weeks is $80. I get it. A lot of people might not have that, but it's not that much for what you're getting. A 2-week supply, it's 92 servings. Now, there is a delay. And apparently, I think there's a limit of 2 per household. Yes, because if you go to your local stores, you're going to see everything's bought out. Let me tell you something right now. This is a BuzzFeed story. It's legit. The New York Times story, it's legit. They're telling you the government is recommending their own people to have a 3-month supply. I wouldn't even do that. And I feel kind of stupid saying that. I don't want to be seen as some dumb prepper, I'm not saying preppers are dumb, but as some overreacting, panicky dude saying, go do this. I'll tell you what, man. We went out and shopping at our supplies, and now they're telling us there's going to be a supply chain disruption in the coming months. So if you think it's bad now, it's apparently going to get worse. So yes, first and foremost, there is a delay on shipping. It doesn't mean you shouldn't get in line now, and that way you get them on it's a first come, first serve basis. So in the description below, you'll see the link, safeandreadymeals.com. I am legitimately and sincerely saying, I am telling you this because yes, it does support my channel, full disclosure. It supports me in my work, but more importantly, I think literally, I mean this. We're seeing from BuzzFeed how the government is telling their own people to take care of themselves. We're seeing from FEMA straight up saying you need to have supplies. Don't let the people shame you into not taking care of yourself. And look, if you don't want to buy from them, just please make sure you have gone to the store and gotten what you can. Do not overbuy like these lunatics. Do not panic buy. This guy, in my opinion, I have no respect for. It's just so disgusting. He thought he was going to go and buy up all this so people couldn't get it. Now he's going to sell it. Now he can't. Guess what? Now we can't get it. I wanted to buy disinfecting wipes, and look at all that stuff he's got in his garage. Listen, the prices get gouged. People start scalping. You do not want to go out and buy a million things and hoard it in your basement. You want to just make sure you have the supplies you need to last you, according to the government, for 3 months. That to me is extreme. I look, man, I understand there's a lot of people who have like 8 months to a year of supplies, and they're going to be laughing at me if/when we ever encounter an extended disruption in supplies. I get it. But man, there is still a hurdle for me to get over. A lot of people won't buy anything. A lot of people won't go get supplies. You know what, man? I don't know what to tell you, because to an extent, I feel similarly. Like, I got a couple weeks worth of food and stuff. I got a couple weeks worth of emergency food as well. So look, you get it. Seriously, I mean it. If you guys, outside of the coronavirus or anything else, we had those tornadoes in Nashville. I want people to stay safe, and I want people to think rationally. And I'm not some, gun-toting prepper thinking the world is going to end. I just think sometimes you need food. I think we need to eat every day for the most part. Not really, but, for the most part. And I think sometimes disasters happen. So I really do hope you consider this. But let's get back to the BuzzFeed story. They say, they actually show the documents. It's interesting. They say, since 2013, BuzzFeed News has filed more than 24 public records requests with multiple federal agencies seeking their influenza pandemic plans. Many agencies have refused. As recently as Thursday, the Securities and Exchange Commission cited an exemption under FOIA that applies to internal personnel rules and practices of an agency. The NSA did not respond to a request for comment about whether the contingency plan it issued a decade ago has been updated and if it can be applied to the coronavirus pandemic. However, an official with the Office of Director of National Intelligence, which oversees the intelligence community, told BuzzFeed News the agency intends to implement guidance issued by the Office of Personnel Management to ensure the intelligence community's mission remains uninterrupted. The IC has numerous missions requiring a global workforce presence, the official said, referring to the intelligence community. Agencies are developing preparation and response plans consistent with federal guidelines and regulations. During a pandemic, the NSA's 2009 plan states that every time affiliates, civilian or military personnel assigned to work at the agency, enter a government building, they would be screened for fever or other flu-like symptoms in an area outfitted with special airflow and filtration capabilities. The plan also limits employee travel and requires a physician's clearance to return from work after illness. In a crisis, the plan would give NSA leadership the ability to quarantine individuals, campuses, or NSA headquarters. Some workers would be asked to do jobs they don't normally do to, quote, staff critical mission functions for the NSA. During a pandemic, the agency would make evacuation payments to workers so they can reach a safe haven and continue working. The NSA also planned to provide access to psychologists and social workers to address stress. Now, I will point something else out. Check it out. So I think this is the NSA FOIA document. It says, remain in country, enough food for 12 weeks. Man, I'm not even saying to buy that much, but maybe it's dumb. Maybe you really should get more than 12 weeks. If they want their critical personnel to keep working, this is what they think they need to keep functioning. What about you? To them, you aren't as important. It's a utilitarian thing. And I get it. The government's probably thinking, look, man, if one carpenter, if one insurance salesman doesn't have supplies, we'll be okay as long as our critical infrastructure in government has their supplies. But if that's the case, I hope you're looking at what the government is telling its own people that they need to survive and taking it seriously. So maybe, 12 weeks. Leave early while able. That's incredible. This stuff is legit. You want to go after the preppers and accuse them of being, panicky or whatever. Our own government is telling people this stuff. Look at this. Stockpiling masks, medication, developing communication for workforce. What do you mean stockpiling masks? They told us not to do that. It's true that a mask alone will not prevent you from getting sick. It does reduce the probabilities by some. But here's the issue. There's proper procedure for taking off contaminated gear. I've gone through it when I was in Japan in Fukushima. If you only have the mask and you don't know what you're doing, it's not going to help you. And that's the risk. But they still tell their critical personnel to stockpile masks. Incredible. Flight funneling, quarantine, medical countermeasures, antiviral medication, pandemic vaccine, pre-pandemic vaccine. The plan pointed out that simple steps, such as social distancing and proper hand washing, are effective at slowing the spread of the virus. And the plan said that the goal of public health officials should be to slow down the rate of infection and limit the burden on medical staff and hospitals. This is what they are doing right now. They are telling all of us this. If this was in the documents, I'm willing to bet they all have 3 months of supplies available while they're telling you not to go out and go panic shopping. But that's fair. You shouldn't panic shop. But they've got 3 months of supplies. The plan is supplemented by a PowerPoint presentation titled Pandemic Planning that was written by the Department of Health and Human Services and contains specific recommendations for the intelligence community. In one slide, HHS made stark predictions about a possible viral outbreak. We don't know when the next pandemic will occur, which influenza virus will cause it, or how severe it will be. You know, it's funny. And I don't mean funny, haha. The coronavirus is substantially worse than the flu. Think about that for a second. They don't want you to panic. They don't want you to go raid stores, and you shouldn't. But you should be vigilant and be prepared, because this is worse than the flu. We caught it early. Don't look at the numbers and say, but the flu is worse, because we caught it early. The exponential growth is here, and people are starting to freak out. A slide titled Pandemic Severity Index ranks threat levels. The top level is at Category 5, which at least 2% of infected people die. Oh, you gotta be kidding me, man. This is nuts. Assuming an 1918-like pandemic and no effective response, the document said, more than 1.9 million Americans would die and 9.9 million others would require hospitalization. Another slide titled Pandemic Policy to Maintain the IC Mission Objectives suggests that intelligence officers based overseas leave foreign countries early, return home, and have enough food for 12 weeks and stockpile masks and medication. They said they updated its pandemic influenza plan in 2017. And this is a link to the CDC. They say the top level, Category 5, at which at least 2% of infected people die. The global mortality rate is around 3%, according to various sources. It could be as low as 1, could be as high as 3. We've heard 2%, but we are in that range. This very well may be a Health and Human Services Category 5 pandemic. Not the end of the world? I certainly don't think so. But here in Jersey, they just shut down all the schools. They've suspended public gatherings. We have a national emergency. That's it. Doesn't matter if your state's declared it or not. We're in a national emergency. This is what the government is telling their people to do. By all means, go on Twitter and mock and belittle me and anyone else who wants to buy supplies. Please do it. I don't care. If you want to look at how the government is reacting to this and mock them, I think you're insane. Could you imagine someone in the CIA going and buying 3 months of supplies and people on Twitter laughing about it? Look how stupid they are. Look how stupid they are buying 3 months of supplies. I guess, they say, do as I say, not as I do. That's the saying, right? Actions speak louder than words. If the government is straight up telling people to do this, if the government is reacting like this is, a major, serious national emergency, and you're not, hubris will be your downfall. Think about what Sun Tzu had said, that, I'll paraphrase, but you never underestimate your enemy. And in this instance, the coronavirus is our enemy. Wouldn't you rather be safe than sorry? I don't know. Some people think it's funny, just say it's stupid to buy emergency food. But I'm after reading this, I don't know, man. At what point do you panic, right? So I'm going to give a shout out to the Amazing Atheist because he tweeted this. He said, people keep saying don't panic. Now is not the time to panic. But he said I'm pretty sure a global pandemic and a market crash is the time to panic. When do you panic then? Like never? When everything's great? Well, the reality is you never want to panic. Panic implies you're not thinking rationally. So do not panic. The people who are going to store and stocking up on a year's supply of toilet paper are panicking. And so they're getting in close quarters with people and they're going to get sick and you can't eat toilet paper. These people seem to think that the infection goes after your butthole. It doesn't. You need food. And the government says 3 months to their people. I don't know what they're telling us, but they're telling their own personnel 3 months. You don't got to take my word for it. Take their word for it. You don't want to take BuzzFeed's word for it? Well, BuzzFeed published the documents. So I'm going to say it one last time, man. Safeandreadymeals.com. Safeandreadymeals.com. In the description below, click the link. It's not that expensive for what you get. 252 servings, $197, and you put it in your closet, or I don't want to say that. You store it properly, and you can forget about it and you buy it once. They say it lasts up to 25 years. So I don't know exactly how they require storage. It's dehydrated food. You do what you want. Don't get this. That's fine. Okay. I'm going to do me. I'm going to make sure that I'm listening. And look, man, I hate doing these shout outs. I really, really do. YouTube is absolutely demonetizing all this content. So I think it's a benefit for my channel. I appreciate the support, but I'm only shouting them out because I do think it matters. I got told by Google recently that I was allowed to talk about this now. They said, we're going to whitelist your channels. Go ahead and talk about the coronavirus. I've got dozens of videos on the coronavirus, all demonetized, and I was covering this before it came a national emergency. And they've demonetized it every step of the way. YouTube restricting access to important information. And if they didn't do this, and they allowed us to talk about it, many more people would be better prepared for what's to come. Yesterday, I did a video on my main channel, mostly talking about China and manufacturing. And they told me, you will be okay to make this. And they still demonetized me. And 24 hours later, they reinstated. That's what they do. YouTube is restricting access to important information on this. So you do whatever you want. If you don't want to buy the stuff, don't do it. Fine. I don't care. I already did. I've got my emergency food, and you can laugh all day and night. But I just had a conversation with some locals outside my house, and people are really worried. Schools are shut down for the next 60 days. They don't know what they're going to do. Maybe it's an overreaction. Maybe it's not. But I'll tell you this. They said, this is BuzzFeed News reporting, okay? This is not PrepperCentral.com. This is not conspiracy, whatever. It's not InfoWars. It's BuzzFeed News saying the government says the top level is a Category 5 with a 2% mortality rate, and that's what we are seeing. Don't panic. Please don't panic. Be calm. For the most part, I think we're gonna be fine here. My frustration right now is mostly on all of the people who are laughing it up or were. I'm really annoyed by it. They were posting on Twitter, laughing, giggling, how stupid everyone was. And if they convinced even one person not to go out and take care of themselves, you know what? The responsibility always falls on you. If you wanna listen to the crazy saying, don't get ready for disasters, well, you go ahead and do it. And then don't come knocking on my door when you need a first aid kit or you need water or food. But these people who are encouraging others, man, encouraging others not to take care of themselves, that's some messed up stuff, I gotta say. Stick around. I'll see you all at 4 p.m. on the main channel, youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out.